We've got a review to jump into right now, and it's a massive game. It's another in the Assassin's Creed franchise. It's called Odyssey, and it keeps screwing me up because the last one was Origins, and I keep getting those O names all mixed up, and it feels like we just put down Origins and then dived right into ancient Greece with Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It's a great name for the game, obviously sort of lifting on the whole, the Odyssey fable, of course, the famous literary work, and you actually do go on an epic odyssey when you're playing this game because it's absolutely enormous. You not only are hopping around in where you think you would go, like Athens and a few sort of areas around there, but you're popping onto Greek islands all over the place. The map is enormous, and sailing is a very big component of the game because you've got a lot of islands to explore. But one of the things that I've discovered while playing this game, and I've put about 16 and a half hours into this thing, and so like I haven't beat it, I haven't accomplished every single side mission that you possibly can, but I've got a really good taste of how I feel about this game, and I'm just at that point where some of the missions are getting super difficult or tedious, or I'm starting to get that loop. But there is so much variety in the gameplay, as we all know from every Assassin's Creed game, and this game also benefits from a couple of things. One of them is the location allows for lots of variety in the topography, so you've got snow up on the mountains, you've got beautiful, clear blue water, you go diving under and you start, battling with sharks to get sunken treasure. A lot of the, learnings that really started to come in together with Black Flag are really smooth and beautifully represented in this game. Then you're also going through forests and jumping off of waterfalls, and the sun is cascading through the trees, and you've got god rays all around you, and all of a sudden the heavens will erupt, and there'll be beautiful rainstorms. You'll pass these epic statues. Some of them are still being constructed, some of them are in ruins, some of them are beautifully painted, and everywhere you look you just want to take photographs. And I thought Origins was a sumptuous treat visually, but this is a whole other level, mostly because the world that you get to explore is just incredible, and I really have been in awe and taking hundreds of photos as I've been cruising around, and I've been really enjoying the experience because it does feel like a much more finely tuned role-playing experience than any previous Assassin's Creed game before, including Origins, which I thought was leaning heavily in that direction to begin with, but this really just says, nope, we're an RPG. The problem that Assassin's Creed Odyssey has, of course, is the legacy of Assassin's Creed. You know the tropes, you know what to expect, you know that you're going to Forrest Gump, connect with some famous person from ancient history or somebody that you've read in a history book at some point, and yes, that does occur. You're going to get a lot of, Greek literature kind of thrown at you, and a lot of historically significant locations that are going to pop on screen, and you're going to figure it out. And of course, you're also going to, pop out of the Animus and have some gameplay sequences that are really disposable. And that's a major problem in 2018. After, I think, 55 Assassin's Creed games at this point, like, it really feels like Ubisoft, if they're going to continue to throw us into these, future tense kind of sequences or present tense kind of sequences, that they should feel like they have real weight and circumstance and like they should matter a lot more than they do. And all they do is kind of interrupt the beauty of jumping into the gameplay. Now, one of the things that they added are these huge epic battle sequences where you can join up with the Spartans and the Athenians, and you kind of play. You play a mercenary, so you can play the field and go back and forth and level up how you want to. Sort of pit allegiances against each other. There's obviously lots of stealth missions and leaders to kill and bounties to collect. You will also be the subject of bounty hunters who will, follow you across hill and dale to try to wipe you out, and that's kind of fun, kind of freaky. It took me a little while to figure out, because they're always, once they start coming after you, they're pretty highly leveled or leveled over you. But of course, you start to pick up better weaponry and RPG style yourself to being more of a badass. So you can take these guys on if you want to, but you can also pay off the bounty, and you can have the bounties stop coming after you. There's lots of forts to go and invade, and then take out all of the different soldiers and loot the treasures and burn up some of the war supplies, and let some of the animals loose from their cages so that they can go and hunt down some of the soldiers for you, kind of like in Far Cry. There's lots of that kind of stuff. You'll meet bandit camps. You'll meet people that are sort of a little bit more forest dwellers. You'll fight, ferocious boars and ferocious bears. And if all of this stuff sounds fun to you, I can assure you that it really is. But like every Assassin's Creed game, this one kind of starts to overstay its welcome. And the thing that I really clued into is that this is one of the worst franchises for game reviewers to consume the way that they do, because this is really one of those games where there is a lot of repetition, there's a lot of recycling of concepts and core fundamental ideas that are great, not just because in the game that's happening, but also because of how many Assassin's Creed games there are. So when you approach an Assassin's Creed game, if you're not, doing this for your job, if someone's not saying, look, we need you to get through this and you get a review out there, or we need you to stream all of this 8 hours a day or whatever. If you're just doing this for fun, don't just swallow it all up in a weekend. I think it comes out this week. So take your time and appreciate the beauty and get off the horse and walk around. And one of the ways that they're kind of trying to make this game a little bit more of a special experience is they encourage you, and they say this right out of the gate, that Assassin's Creed Odyssey is meant to be played from an exploratory kind of perspective. It's not meant to be just complete objective, and tick off all the boxes. Because of course, a lot of those things, you can go in and wipe out a fort or whatever, they will auto-repopulate again. And so if you cruise through that fort again, you've got to wipe everybody out. If you choose to, you can bypass all of that stuff. So there is that sense of like, you're affecting the world for a moment, but then that challenge will reappear for you if you want to play the game, which, taken as a whole, it just becomes a little bit exhausting. And I'm at that precipice of it, like, oh, okay, this is starting to get like, I need a break, like this is starting to become a job. And I think a big reason is because we've had so many Assassin's Creed games that we can go, oh yeah. And Ubisoft, I've said this many times before, they really need to double down on their idea to take a break. They really need to just say, we're going to chill for a bit. And they've said that for 2019, but like the next one, and I think they were quite effective with this with Origins. I think they got us hyped up again. And I think this game, there's a lot of confusion as to why it's coming out so quickly, and I think all of that is warranted. However, it's one of the best Assassin's Creed games I've played. It's up there with Black Flag. I think I like it more than Origins just because of the diversity and that it's a more fun RPG. It's up there with Assassin's Creed 2. It's an incredible game, and it really is. But what sort of dings it are all the familiar things. Like, that eventually you're going to see stuff that you've done before. You're going to play stuff that you've played before. They have done things like the sync points aren't all like scattered within an area. They've really kind of spread them out across this vast map. And it's really just to get your bird to level up so that it can see a little bit more detail when it's doing the reconnaissance stuff for you when it's flying around. And so consequently, it's not like you're just racing to that objective and racing to that. Even if you're playing play the objectives sort of style of Assassin's Creed, you still have a lot of free-form experimentation. There's this emergent type of experience that happens from the conversations that you're going to have with the NPCs, from the message boards that you're going to go lock onto. There's ship battles. There's sort of a meta game going on between the invading forces between Athenia and Sparta, or Athens and Sparta. And so, and you can get into those battles and play on either side and try to, resist the forces or be on the forces. You've also got the meta game of all of these mercenaries coming out after you, and then you've got this other meta game that's tied to the lore of Assassin's Creed, which is about the people that came before, and all of that stuff kind of ties in a little more elegantly than it has in the past, where it was just sandwiched in and it was all playing with our curiosity and the mystery surrounding Assassin's Creed. Now that there's been so many games and the lore is so mishmashy confusing, The developers are starting to kind of push a lot of that stuff away and slide it in. It's almost like they've rebooted the franchise, or it's like a soft reboot. And, presumably we'll get more in this vein. There's rumors that the next one will be like an ancient Japanese game, which would be great, but I just hope it comes out a little bit later. Give us 2 years or 3 years. Make us really appreciate it. And I think Ubi, if you're listening, keep turning the screws and keep changing this and keep making it more of a reinvention. I think Breath of the Wild is the game that I keep pointing to. It was a game that was so familiar but unfamiliar to all of us Zelda diehards out there. It really kind of shook up all of what we know about the Legend of Zelda franchise, and that was a wonderful accomplishment and something that was incredibly unpredictable from Nintendo. And I think that's what we need from Ubisoft. They're on that trail for sure, but I think they could go further with it and really shock us and surprise us. I don't know, maybe release a game and it doesn't even have the Assassin's Creed brand on it, and then you're sort of into it and you realize, oh my God, this is an Assassin's Creed game. I don't know what they got to do. Am I loving Assassin's Creed Odyssey? Yes. Am I ready to play something else and then come back to this so I can get a little breath from all of my ancient Greece exploration? Yeah, I would say that. Do I think it's worth picking up if you're an Assassin's Creed fan? 100%. Do I like it better than Origins? I do, so far. I think this is great. I love playing as Cassandra as well. This is the first one where you have a definitive choice from the beginning of the game, whether you're playing a male or female protagonist. And the interplay and the dialogue and the acting, there's been a couple of... I encountered one character who I'm not going to talk about right now, who was a little too over the top and gruff and macho voiced. But for the most part, I've been really impressed with the production, the presentation, the visuals, the environment, and the things to do. It's a gorgeous game. I'm going to give Assassin's Creed Odyssey an 8.5 out of 10.